Hi everyone, this is Christina with Love, Hope, and Autism, and I'm here today to share a video with Kate with Finding Cooper's Voice on my top 5 tips for IEP meetings. So first I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm a wife and mom of 3. We have a daughter that's 16 and twin boys that are going to be 8. Our one son Ethan does have autism, and he inspired me to create the page Love, Hope, and Autism, where I share our journey with autism, resources for other families, and updates on our sweet Bubba. The other thing that I am part of is a nationwide campaign called Changing Spaces, and I am the coordinator for here in Pennsylvania. And what we do is we advocate for adult-sized changing tables and public restrooms. So if you'd be interested in learning more about that, you can reach out to me on my Love, Hope, and Autism page or the Changing Spaces Pennsylvania page. So now on to my top 5 tips for IEP meetings. So number 1 would be make a list before you go. I think it's super important to be prepared before you go to the meeting and make a list of things that you'd like to address and discuss with the team. Anything new or anything going on at home that you'd like to talk to them about. Problems or concerns, and definitely add in your questions. I know during a meeting, sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming and you might forget the questions that you want to ask. So I always have a list of questions beforehand just in case I forget during the meeting. And then sometimes some things do come up during the meeting, so it's good to kind of have a pen and paper with you as well. Number 2, bring someone with you. There's a lot of times that most people don't realize that you can bring someone with you to an IEP meeting. I hear this a lot. When I first started, I really didn't know that either until it was offered to me, but not every time something is offered like that. So I want you to know that it is your right. You can bring your spouse, another family member, a fellow mom that you is a really good advocate in the area that you want to bring with you. You can also bring a service coordinator. You can ask the school if they have someone that they recommend to help you through the meeting. Especially if you're just starting out or it's your first meeting, it can be extremely overwhelming going into a meeting with teachers and the psychiatrist and therapist, the principal, and sometimes it's a little intimidating. And I think it's really important for you to feel comfortable and know that you're there, supported with the team around you. So that is my number 2 tip. Number 3 would be make it personal. So what I mean by that is you know your child best. So bring something with you that allows everyone to see your child the way that you do. So you can bring pictures, a favorite toy, or you can actually create a page that tells them a little bit more about your son or your daughter. So I pulled this example off the internet here, and there's actually, if you Google about me pages, there's websites where you can print off, and you can do a full page one. Print off one that you can fill in, or you can fill it in online and then print it out for yourself. I think these are really nice because this would tell the name, the age. This little girl was in pre-K, but what I love about it is that there's a vision statement. So this vision statement, if your child is still very young, what your vision is for your child. Moving forward in the future, what does their future look like? What does that look like? This is probably going to change every year. It might even change throughout the year, but it's super important to have that in mind, what you want that to look like. Their strengths, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, or likes and dislikes. And then what I love down here, I also like, what motivates me. Our son is super motivated by like high fives, reward. He loves praise. So I think it's super important to work off of their strengths, and it's important for the team to know what those strengths are. So if we don't tell them, they might not know, right? So we know our child the best, and it's important for us to share important information and to know that we are here to discuss the difficulties, but we are also here to talk about the strengths and how we move forward and how we work with your child the best that we can so that they can be the best that they can, right? So that was one example here, and you can print them off online. Just Google my vision statement or all about me paper, and these things will come up and you can print them out to use. There's also something like this that comes, says 1-page profile, what's important to me and how to best support me. I'm doing a course right now where I'm learning about these things, and I think it is fantastic to have these resources for parents like us and other people advocating for their children and going to these meetings so that we are well prepared, and that when we're sitting at a table, sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I think making it personal kind of reminds everyone and the team what this is all about, who we're there for. You know, in my meeting, we are there for Bubba. That's his nickname. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about what's going on right now, how we move forward, how we work through it. Bottom line, it's all about him, right? So I think it's super important to have these resources. So that's my number 2, or no, number 3, I'm sorry. Number 4 would be take notes. So I said to bring notes with you because I think it's really important to be well prepared, but also take notes during the meeting. Sometimes there might be something someone says that you might not understand, so I always like jot down, you know, maybe it's PT and nobody ever heard that before, and it's always been called physical therapy. Always take notes during it so that way you can ask questions at the end in case you forget why you're going through it. If there's something you don't understand, you can ask them to explain it. And the last thing I have here is number 5 for do not sign anything if you are uncomfortable or do not agree with something. Not everyone knows that you don't have to sign the paper at the end of the meeting. It's happened before with us in the past when Ethan was much smaller, you know, feeling like I had to sign something right then and there, and it made me super uncomfortable. And I ended up signing it and making phone calls 10 minutes later because I knew that's not what I wanted and not what I agreed to. So, but feeling like you have to sign something that you're not comfortable with is absolutely not right. And it is your right to ask questions, to ask for them to explain it. And you can also take a copy of the IEP home with you and you can go through it. You can make phone calls, you can review it with your doctor if you want to. Make sure that you are comfortable for what is happening and going on with your child and how you move forward with the IEP. So anything you're uncomfortable with, and don't sign it until it is the way that you want it for your child. That is super, super important. Once you sign it, that's saying that you agree to what's on there, right? But don't ever feel pressured or that you have to sign it as is. It is your right to not sign it and to feel comfortable with what you're signing and to make sure that it is the way that you want it in the way that is best for your child. So I know sometimes it can be really hard to speak up. So if you're uncomfortable, I think it's important to take it home and then bring either, talk to your doctor about it, your spouse, a friend, another advocate, a service coordinator, whoever you need to talk to, so that you feel comfortable in signing that piece of paper. And the last thing I'd like to end with is if your child is old enough and able to participate in the conversation at the IEP meeting, I think it's really great. Ethan has been in our meetings. He is limited with verbal speech, but we talk about things before the meeting and after the meeting. And I think it's really important. Not only do we have to advocate as their parents and make sure that they are getting the service that they need and the help that they need inside the school district and where they are, but I think it's really important that as they get older that they're finding their own voice and saying for themselves, I like that, I don't like that, or I don't want to take that class, I like this class. That does nothing for me, I want this. We should be asking, what do you want to them, right? So always remember with that in mind. This is about them, not what we think they should do or they think he should do. It is about them. So I always also try to leave on a positive note for the meeting. Again, these can be extremely overwhelming. They can be stressful. It can make you worry. Sometimes people get upset. I know when I first started, he's almost 8 now. So when I first started quite a few years ago, it was really overwhelming and intimidating. I'm not anymore, and that's a really good feeling to have, but not everyone is like that. So please reach out to someone if you're approaching an IEP meeting and you need help, or if it's your first one and you have questions, please reach out to someone that can help. Again, and you can resort back to this for tips, and I hope that they are helpful to you. And just remember that it is up to you and what your kiddo wants, what you think is going to be best for them. And let them voice what they like and what they don't like. And let them be heard. It's what it's all about. So I hope these tips were helpful. And I appreciate you letting me do the video, Kate. And thanks.